right back, everybody. Welcome back to Talking Wars with Wayman. I am Matt Wayman here again, part 2 with my special guest, the amazing, the awesome, the brassy Mr. Jeffrey Koehn. Yeah, and the crowd goes wild. That was a new sound effect that I just bought. That was $65. You think it was worth it?
I was impressed. What do they do? Sample like a real audience?
Yeah, they do.
Sampling
I guess so. I think they went out to the new Price is Right with Jim Carrey, or Drew Carey, and took a little sound bit off him because he's been nailing it. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was probably a $60 sound bite. You're right, but you know what? You make mistakes in life and then you keep going. And we're right back into the heat of the convo about your life in the art field.
Yep.
And about how do you ever? I guess so. One thing you like when you take. We're just gonna hop right back in. When you take, do you do specific commissions, or is it basically just like you do commissions for like the dealers?
But yeah, basically, the way it kind of works is that I've developed probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 different series of paintings, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I have 2 of those series are kind of like cityscapes, bistro scenes at night, that type of thing. And then the rest are different types of landscapes. I've got one called the Into the Woods series, which I've probably gotten more mileage off of that series than anything since like 2006. Because basically what it is, you're kind of looking through an aspen grove into kind of this misty background kind of thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I was looking through a bunch of the stuff that has been on your websites or on the gallery's website and everything like that. And it seems like, I mean, on most of them, there's quite a few that have sold. I mean, and there's something to be said about that, about being a starving artist that is just making something, or being an artist that is actually making a living. So do you think that is in some ways stifled creativity, or do you think it's just one of those things where it's just what it is, and you just keep being creative yourself, and it just gives you a path to be more creative? Or the means, the means a little bit?
Yeah, I think I know what you're asking.
Financial?
Yeah, it's kind of like this. You have to, like, as I've gone, it's a journey, it's evolved, but I've had to learn how to kind of dance the fine line between, I'm quoting Don Henley from the Eagles here, doing the dance with the devil,
all need
so
to more, you know?
Well, he was a brilliant lyricist.
No, absolutely.
And so quite a fine lover from what I've heard on the road.
I've actually experienced that. So I was a young boy, but we don't. That's another podcast that I do.
Okay.
So let's just.
But he said, that, you're dancing with the devil when you do that fine line between art and commerce.
Absolutely.
And so. And when I first heard that, I'm like,
whatever.
And then I experienced it. I'm like, oh my God, this is brutal. So, yeah, I mean, you have to. There's a point where I think for me, I've had to sort of frame art, pun intended.
Yeah.
Frame it in a way where I kind of have to give it up. It's not my baby, or if it is a baby, it's for other people. Like Moses. Yeah.
Which I think, in some senses, is what we do as like comedians. Sometimes there's some times where we don't necessarily like a joke, but I know it's going to work in this city, or I know it's going to work here to get a paycheck at the end of the night. Like road stuff, or more just like some hack crowd work that you do or something. But I think like there's parallels in. Whatever you do, as opposed to like I think it's probably, I don't know if you feel one way or the other, but it's a small percentage of people that make it without having to give something up,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or concede at some point.
Yeah, you're, you hear this all the time, where people, and I get it from fellow artists. They're like, "Well, you're kind of a sellout," and I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I'm picking the checkup right now, so I don't.
I hope I sell out every painting in the gallery. There's another reference, James Hetfield from Metallica. Thank you. But no, like I decided that, well, okay, maybe a certain series, it may not be my personal favorite thing to paint, but I'm getting to do my favorite thing in the world for a living, painting. I'll paint like a rusty fire hydrant. I almost said rusty trombone. That'd
have been awesome. Maybe that's the new series that's coming out, the rusty trombone.
We'll talk about all those. What would you call those little names for the sick fetishes?
Yeah, of course. We'll put that at the MCA.
I want you to paint me in burnt sienna. That's the thing.
It's the newest thing.
I think that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I think over the years I've had to really, look at my work, because my dream is to just, get better and better at art and comedy for that matter.
Yeah.
But that both could be self-sustaining, and increase in the revenue and all that, so that I could be more picky eventually and not, there's you can get into a thing where, we do both of these things because we love to do it.
Of course.
But then you get out on the road or something, or me selling a lot of paintings on a lot of deadlines.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, it's easy to feel like, well, now I'm doing it because I have to do it.
And it becomes work at that point. It becomes the work that a lot of other people look at as, like sitting at a desk. Like some people don't realize that monotony also goes with the creatives as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Doing the same thing over and over at night. But I don't look at that as selling out at all. I look at that as being like, you're smart and you know what you want in life. Yep. And you know how you're going to make it work for you. Because I know so many artists that don't make a living and they're pissed off about it. And it's easy to call somebody to sell out who's making money. And I also know a lot of comics that do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm new enough to comedy where I haven't really I've seen little bits and pieces of that, but obviously
you've seen people doing it for 10, 15 years that, just never blew up or anything like that. And there's, resentment in the same way as well, but especially towards somebody who's making money and, kind of balancing the two,
Yeah.
If all we are is creatives, it's just fun to be able to create all the time and make money off of it, regardless of if it feels like work sometimes too,
Yeah, and I have to sometimes if I'm feeling that way, I'm like, okay, you know what? Just put the brush down, go walk around the neighborhood, chill out, whatever. And then when I do that, usually it's like, oh yeah, okay. Even if it's a little bit drudgery right now, or I have to push through something, it's worth it, and it's way, even at the worst. How do I say this? Like the worst moment as a painter is better than the best moment as a telemarketer.
Oh, absolutely.
100%,
I believe in.
And painting is I'm starting to see, at least for me, that writing comedy is like this too, where you kind of know what your point, what you're trying to bring up, but oh God, how do I? And you hit that wall.
Yeah.
And then in a painting, it's like that. There's always kind of the middle part of the painting where I'm like, damn it, do what I want, but your brain kind of can't figure, it gets stuck.
Trying to push it, and and then sometimes it won't come. Yeah, and then the funny part in the comedy, sometimes people come up and be like, hey, here's the last part of that joke. And it's because they weren't looking at it for so long, they know exactly where it's going.
Oh, yeah.
I've gotten some of my best punchlines from people coming up and being like, hey, this is what that punchline should be. And also because I don't write, so.
That probably helps.
But it helps because, when you are so immersed in something, a lot of times you can't see it for what it is.
Yeah, it's almost like you're... I don't know if this is scientific, but your brain gets these, it's like an after image. You stare at that light for a while, and then you close your eyes and you see the after image.
Yeah.
And so it gets burned in your brain, and in a painting you don't want that because then you're not seeing it objectively. You're kind of fixated on what's that thing they say. I don't know. Do you ever ride a motorcycle or anything like that?
Oh, I don't. I ride bikes all the time. Unmotored cycles.
I'm I just got a bike. I need to take the training wheels off. No, but it applies for a bicycle too. But on vehicles like that, they say, let's say you're in the road and there's a pothole coming up. Worst thing you can do is look at the pothole.
Yeah.
Because
you're going to hit it.
You're just going to go right into it. But they teach you, don't look at the problem, look at the solution, look at what's beyond it. And that's sort of...
Look at the bus stop that you can crash into.
Look at those three, those guys with the white robes around here from that cult.
Yeah, they're not going to be happy about what is about to happen to them. Have you all ever been run over by a motorcycle? No, I think that's a perfect thing, which is why I think a lot of times, especially for jokes and stuff, it's good to write, let it sit down for a couple of weeks and then come back and kind of edit the material that you see. And, I know with painting it's probably a little bit shorter of a time period, but, to let something sit outside the brain for a little bit and come out and be able to look at it objectively again. Because it's a time thing.
It's a time thing, and I've developed a shortcut. That's I didn't develop it, but
it's called
stole
alcohol.
It's called crystal meth, alcohol, the cliche
stuff. It's a small amount of crystal meth, a lot of alcohol. It's a fine line that you walk.
Oh, but don't forget, you got to balance it with some barbiturates,
little barbiturates. They actually call it the Koehn mix, I think, in the painter circles these days.
Yeah, we're
the Koehnade.
Yeah. Koehnaise. Mayonnaise, but it's Koehnaise.
It does come in mayonnaise form, too.
Gross. No, but like for me, it's I'll take a painting and sometimes just hold it up to a mirror and look at the reflection of it, and all of a sudden I'm like, holy crap, everything's leaning to the right. But I couldn't see that without not looking at the reflection.
Yeah.
You know,
That's insane.
it's weird.
Yeah.
Because I think you're using a different part of your brain to look at it or something.
Oh, I'm sure, and especially in the reflection, you can see it's completely flipped, and you can see, I'm sure, the imperfections that came from the other side of the brushstrokes, right?
Oh yeah, they glare. I mean, they stick out like neon lights.
And they catch the light too, especially from being in the mirror, probably.
Yep.
That's crazy. Just a little painting hack for all you painting fans out there. That's a free one. That's
free art hacks with Jeff Koehn and Matt Wayman.
It's gonna be a new YouTube channel we're gonna run out.
Use a crayon and do it with your left hand instead, because then it looks like it's another artist doing it.
That's what it is. Do you have a certain schedule that you stick to every day? Do you wake up and just like, I'm gonna bust out 3 hours? Do you wake up, go do something, and then bust out? What's your process like?
Well, it's a very regimented thing. Like I wake up around noon, and then that's the life, you know.
I know,
because I can.
It's so great.
No, I wake up whenever I do, and then 7 hours of internet surfing pointlessly, which I shouldn't do that. No, well, I mean, I do try to, maybe catch up on stuff like that for an hour, and then I'll go walk down to the coffee place, get my coffee, come back, and in my mind, I tell myself at least try to paint 5 to 6 hours a day.
That's awesome.
Monday through Friday,
Nice.
and even if I don't hit that, I'm still doing like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, that's good.
And I find that in anywhere from like 2 in the afternoon until 7 or 8 at night, that's like my peak time.
Nice. Yeah, you have to know. I feel like that's a completely thing with creatives. You have to know when you create content.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what your process is and where you find that you do the best. And a lot of times it's like, it is those times, or like some people do really late at night. I'm early in the morning. You seem to be more in the midday.
Yep.
But it's like, it is clocking in though. It's not just being like
second shift, baby. Here we go.
It's not just like, oh, those jokes were easy to write. It's like, no, you sit down for hours and hours and hours and just make them good, or whatever. You make that painting what it is,
Yep, absolutely.
Which feels better anyway. In the end, I feel like.
Well, I think it's a more immediate result, and
comedy sometimes probably to the benefit too, because like when you have a couple good ones in a row, you're like, I'm king of the world, and then, and then it swiftly comes down a day later when they're like, that you are not funny.
What do they say? That's the comedy gods making sure that you stay humble, or something like that.
We probably are some of the most humble. If you get cocky in this biz, geez, that's probably worse for you.
It's it's so weird. Like I'm barely 3 years in now to comedy, and when I first started, my friend Will had to kind of coax me, but I overheard him telling some people that he was a comedian or trying it. I'm like, oh my God, really? Oh, I secretly have wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But I remember telling him, I'm thinking, because one thing that he said that now I think is really odd, but I believed him when he said it. He said, I'll tell you guys, ever since I started doing stand-up, I don't care what anybody thinks of me anymore.
You're like, this
and
is
I'm
it.
like, bullshit, but I believed it then. And so I had kind of this idea that, if nothing else, the laughs and all that stuff would be great, but it's going to like make me more mature and confident because in my view, well, comedians, they have to be some of the most well-balanced, confident, mature people on the face of the earth.
Yeah, not just a bunch of sickos.
And then I find out that it's a bunch of sickos with like more problems.
Yeah, just like 2 steps away from becoming juggalos is basically what we all are as comedians.
Yeah, we're getting locked up in,
But I think it is certain other things that because when you stop censoring yourself, when you stop censoring the way that you look at other people and the way that you look at everything in the world, I think there is some freedoms as being a comedian, especially because you're less likely to get beat up if you say something offensive and you're like, "Hey, I'm a comedian. I was trying."
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's like we still do get some leeway, and I think we're some of the people, we speak our minds more than anybody. A lot of people, I think, comedians.
That is true, and I think you're right. It does actually, in the long run, when I look at it that way, I'm like, you know what? I can see some more maturity.
Yeah.
Because the big thing is the whole. You kind of touched on it. What was it? What'd you say? Criticizing others, or?
Yeah, I mean, just like judging others. I mean, talking about what others. I mean, like when you are worrying about what everybody else is thinking, like we just get more leeway as basic people. Is pretty much it. It's like we just get a little bit more of the line to walk across, where people are like, he's not trying to be offensive. He was at least trying to be funny a little bit.
Right.
And a lot of times, if it is funny, it's even better because it's cutting. So it's real.
Yeah, real and
real
humor would be the only way they could hear that.
A lot of times, I mean, satire is the only form of just to bring people down in like a fun way, I guess, really. You know? Even painting, painting has been used as that throughout history too, as a way to bring down.
Oh, and I admire that. Like when people tell me what I do as an artist, kind of my warm-up joke for that is I'm like, well, I paint pretty pictures on canvas for dental office to hang it up, pleasant. There's, in a way, it is decorative art. I'm not doing political art or that depth of expression, and I admire people who do. Yeah. But I've never been able to, how would I even express that? I've never really learned in that direction.
On the same level, all we are trying to do as anybody is just trying to make other people happy and just trying to hopefully change them or make stuff better, every day, which is all we're trying to do. This is I just want to say that we are getting to the end of that time, or we're gonna start shutting it down. If you want to give out your Twitter handle or maybe a little Facebook stuff, whatever you want to plug, so they can find you. Website. Google.
Google me. That's always pleasurable. I find it very pleasurable.
Hit me up on Google.
And flavorful. You can go on Facebook, Jeff Koehn Fine Art.
Nice.
Or just friend me.
Yeah, he's a friendly guy.
I'm a friendly guy, and I'm desperate for friends.
He loves friends. He's not desperate. He's pleading.
It's only for status. Look at me. I've got 2,000 friends.
I'm going to buy you some friends on Twitter. I'll give you about 200 followers.
So, the Facebook thing, and then you can... I have a lot of my work is on a WordPress site. It's jefftheartist.wordpress.com.
Nice. Check that out, everybody. Check that out on the web.
And then, one more thing. You can see me at open mics around town, and probably once every 14 weeks, I guess. New talent night at Comedy Works.
Comedy Works, everybody. Our local club. I want to thank everybody out there for listening. I've been Matt Wayman. I want to thank Jeff so much for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
For the first inaugural episode. We're going to be back with more solely creative-driven podcasts. I want to thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you all soon.